conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Hungama Game Changers, the leadership series, where we celebrate extraordinary women shaping the future of entertainment, tech, and everything in between. I'm Ronak from Hungama, and today's guest is someone whose journey truly embodies what it means to be a change maker. She's a software engineer at Electronic Arts, the powerhouse behind global gaming titles, and the founder of Women in Engineering, a global platform that connects and empowers women in tech across borders. Please welcome Tanjulia Akter, tech leader, advocate, educator, and a force for equity in engineering and gaming. Tanjulia, it really is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Likewise, I'm very honored to be here.
Okay, I'm going to request you to start from the beginning. You've spoken about growing up in Bangladesh, and you've somehow navigated your way into one of the most competitive industries in the world currently, which is game development. Tell me about the journey, growing up and then getting here.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I come from a humble beginning. So I grew up in Bangladesh, but I was born in a village with no water, no electricity, no gas at the time. And then from there, we went to Korea, not because we were just expats or things like that. My dad was actually a laborer in Korea. And when he was in Korea, he got into a really bad accident and lost half of his hand. So my family followed him to Korea. And during that time, I was very young. I think I was like almost a toddler. So I learned Korean. I quickly adapted to the language. But I also at the time realized that my dad needed more medical attention that he could get at the hospital there. So we started going to this center. It's called Shalom House. So Shalom House is basically an organization led by doctors and students, like med school students, to cater for the communities such as my dad. So cater for the people who cannot actually afford any medical care. So I used to go with him, and then I quickly realized my dad and other folks actually could not converse with them properly. Yes. So they could not actually tell where they were hurting. My dad couldn't tell that his hand was hurting. My uncles were just uncles by virtue of just living in the same space. They couldn't tell what their problems were. So at a very young age, I think I was 5-6 years old, I became a translator at the center. So I was speaking Korean, I was speaking Bangla, I was speaking English, and trying to kind of connect the dots. And even during all of that, I realized that they were helping my dad so much, and I really, really, really wanted to be one of them. I thought they were just superheroes, right? When you were like 5-6 years old, that's the goal. Like you want to go, do Absolutely. Something that benefits people. So I went and asked them. I said, "Hey, how can I be one of you? I want to be you," right? And they said, "Okay, you want to be us? You just go to university." And mind you, 6 years old, I don't have no idea what a university is. Okay, I was like, okay, I will do the university. Whatever it is, I will get the university and I will be you one day. So at that time, I started working really hard. I went to school and I said, I will do the university. And I told my teacher that, and they were very happy about it. A couple of years fast forward, we realized that I actually could not go to university in Korea because I was, first of all, did not have a SIN number there because I was a child of an immigrant. And my education was not going to be recognized by the government. So there was no way for me to actually, get the university degree and be at a position where I could actually help the people like my dad's population. So I started campaigning for children's rights. I started campaigning for the workers' rights in Korea,
right,
and in the early 2000s. And I was doing with Shalom House, and I was all over Korean media, and we gleaned a lot of national support to the point. So a couple of years later, when I was doing this, my dad told me, like, "Hey, you cannot overstay your visa. You need to go back." Sent me back to Bangladesh to continue my studies. But when I came back to Bangladesh, a few months later, I started getting calls from a few folks who were back in Korea saying, hey, we're really thankful for your initiatives because the government is changing the way they're approaching education. That my son can actually now go to a high school. Now my son can actually go sit for board exams to get into a university. And that honestly made my entire day. I think to this day, that was my pinnacle of happiness.
Yeah.
But even then, when I went back to Bangladesh, our economic status was still not the greatest. So I started teaching students. So when I was in grade 12, I started teaching kids, right? And by the time I was ready to graduate, I was teaching students in university, getting into university, and I taught students way ahead of my classes because I just studied everything. And I said, I will make sure that nothing gets to be a burden. Like my education cannot be a burden on my parents. So I said, I'm going to go teach students and I'm going to make sure that I know my materials enough that I do well in my classes as well. So my whole high school was a series of teaching students, do your classes, get them into university while you were in high school, get them, sorted through their first year courses while you're in high school, because I just knew everything that was going on. Anyways, but at the end of my high school, I did O levels and A levels. I did realize that if I had stayed in Bangladesh, I love my country. But if I had stayed back, the opportunities that I would have given or could have gotten to probably were not going to be the same as what I have gotten here. So I decided to apply for universities outside. Again, I would not have been able to afford any of the tuitions for the universities that I have gotten into. I've gotten to a bucket load of universities in the US, but I have gotten a lot of scholarship. I think I remember in one of these universities they have given me $200,000 of USD at the time. And then on top of that, I had to pay about 40 grand. And I said, there's no way I could actually pay that money. So I let go of that US dream. And then I started applying for Canada. I got into a bunch of universities as well. And thankfully, University of Victoria, my alma mater, gave me the best financial support. So I said, okay, this is the university I will go. So the scholarship really helped me. So I gave, I gave up everything from Bangladesh, uprooted everything, and then I came here. And in between, because when I came here, again, my economic status is still the same as what was before. What I had done in university in Canada is I went for 1 semester of studying and 1 semester of internships. So not only was I building my skill set, I was also earning money in between to actually pay for the next term. So I would do in between. So, and University of Victoria, and if anyone is watching this video, if you are in university, make sure to do internships because that will set you apart from anyone that's graduating. And especially in this day where the market is so competitive, that's going to be your massive, raising factor. Anyway, so I did 5 different internships. So by the time I graduated, I had like 5 terms of university, like actual work experiences. And I do think that helped me land my jobs. So when I graduated, the jobs just didn't come to me, like an array of jobs that came to me. I have gotten a lot of no's before I have gotten my 16, 17 offers that I came through. But before that, it was like 90 to 100 no's that I have heard before. So when I interviewed, I also was very mindful of the fact that I was not going to go for any positions that did not align with my values. I really wanted to be a contributing factor to any team that I go for. So I did not want to accept any job offers where I felt like the product was not something I wanted to work with, or the team was someone, or team members in the interview panel was someone that I would not be able to work with. So there was multiple factors that I was considering, because at the end of the day, when you are interviewing, it's not just a one-way interview, it's a both-way interviews where you're also seeing, do you want to work at this place? Do you think you're going to excel at this place? And thankfully at the time, Electronic Arts had one of the best interviewing experiences that I have ever had, to be honest. So they have made me feel at home. And the director actually came to talk to me and said, yes, we do want you, let's move this forward. And it was a very personal touch they have added to the interview process, and that's why I have accepted the job offer. And from there, you basically, there's no cheat code to actually getting promoted or getting into a senior position. It's just you grind it out. You have to put in your smarts, your mind, your, like, whatever you call it. Like, if you want to do it harder, do it harder. If you want to do it smarter, but get the result. No matter what it is, get the result, and it will get you to the position that you want. And the other thing that also helps is actually networking. So get yourself out there. If you are even an introvert, be more visible on Slack or any of the non-verbal things that you can do. Make yourself more visible to your organization, and that's going to help you really, really greatly to be in a position that has a lot of influence, has a lot of leadership involved.
I have to say that's one of the most inspirational stories I've had from any of my guests. So, kudos to you on that. Tanjulia, tell me, for a lot of people, you're much younger, but certainly a lot of the women that I speak to, gaming happened as opposed to being a conscious choice that a lot of the women who've been part of the Game Changers movement have made. What got you into coding and then gaming? And was there a specific moment where you felt that, because you came from a coding background, am I right?
Yeah, so my degree was a software engineering degree, yes.
So at what point did you start feeling that you weren't part of just the tech industry, but truly a part of the gaming world?
That's a great question. And I'm going to go backwards from being a gaming to like how the tech goes into it. So let me ask you a question, right? Have you ever played any game?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to name the game?
I have played, but I actually played the first version of GTA because I'm much older than you. Need
That's
for Speed,
awesome. Yeah.
GTA, those are the games we played growing up, and then Valhalla, Call of Duty a little bit. I also play a lot of casual games. I play a lot of puzzle games. I play mind games. I also play a lot of those detective and so a lot of casual gaming as well now.
I love it. Okay. Now, if I ask you,
Also
why do you play? Sorry?
Also Ingress.
Right.
Right.
It's fair. Okay. If I ask you, why do you play this game? Can you just give me like a one-word answer?
Almost never.
Why? No. Why do you play these games?
I don't know if there's a one-word answer for almost any game, but I think at the end of the day, and this is surprising to a lot of people, but I think for me, in some ways, it's my me time where I'm able to kind of just be suspended. So I think
Disconnect.
so I think for me, like a lot of people will do breath work, which I also do and I recommend. But for me, sometimes, when I can feel I'm restless, I'll play one of my casual games, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and you're so distracted that you're no longer over focusing on what is bothering you.
Yeah. That's a great answer. So I can actually like take your answer and go from there as well. You're actually trying to find alternate version of a reality where you can escape your current one and then focus on something else, so that it's not the same thing, right? Now, a lot of people have the same answer. They play for fun, they play to connect with other people, they play to keep in touch with their friends, they play to build community. But at the end of the day, you're making your own world, right? You're making like an alternate reality. Now think about it. The gaming industry has player bases that demand the best in terms of experience. Say your game, for example, needs to give you that sense of this is real. This is something that I can like see. The physics is smooth, right? The animation is seamless, right? The graphics is like fantastic.
It's
It looks
plausible for me to suspend my disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. It has to give you that. Now, in order for for you to get that effect, that means the graphics had to be the best in the world. The animation had to be the best in the world. The lag time had to be like minimum, right? So all of this combined, what I have seen is the gaming industry was pushing a lot of the other industry to be better, to push their tech. So I think we are also the force of the factor where every other tech industry was having their tech revolutionized. And I really wanted to be in that. A lot of people say I want to be in the cutting edge part of it. I wanted to be in the force that actually was driving a lot of cutting edge technology, and that's why I chose gaming industry. I love gaming, not a lie. I have a lot of my majority of my life in Korea, I have played a lot of games, not so much in Bangladesh because I just didn't have the means for it. But at the end of the day, the technical part of me gets a lot of satisfaction from being in the gaming industry, because there's a lot of technical component that has to be the state of the art in the gaming industry to be able to cater to our players. And that's why I chose it. Now, how did I get into coding? That's a great question. A lot of the times I used to give this generic advice about I used to love coding, XYZ and things like that. That's not true. I have never coded in my life before getting into university. My first class was a C class, and I did not know what a function was. And the rest of the term I was so confused. I got into coding because remember the girl when I was so little, right. I said, I really want to do something for this world that helps my community or does something. And when you grow up, that you kind of like think a little bit different, is like, I want to make an impact on this world. And a lot of people, you would understand that, like they're saying, like, I want to do something that I feel fulfilled with, that makes an impact. Now, I realized when I came into this industry that I could be at home with a few keystrokes, I could make something that has an impact somewhere else in the world. And there's nothing else that can do that. And that's why I chose this industry.
Wow. Okay. Tell us about your job currently in gaming, and walk us through what a day looks like as somebody in the gaming space. What's true and what's myth. I think a lot of people on the outside, when they look at anything in the entertainment world, whether it's music or film or gaming, I think they think of it differently from what actually at the end of the day the job really looks like.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Gaming industry in general, it feels like a very mystical thing that like nobody seems to. If you are not in the gaming industry, it just seems like something that you just cannot get into. It feels like you can't be there. And I felt like that for the longest time, because gaming, I got into, so let me give you a traversal of the industries that I have worked at that led me into gaming. So my first work that I had in the industry was as basically a web developer. I was a full stack developer at an image processing company. And then the next term, I went to IBM, and then I built this analytics tool that was built for internal management system. It had a lot of AI components to it. That helped me land a job at a startup that was building AR and VR software. It had a lot more components about you can basically use for education. Now it's also being used for flight simulations, a lot of other things in this industry. And then the AI that I had built is being used for that. Now that part of it actually landed my job at Microsoft. So at Microsoft, I was building Gears of War, and I was working on their online services. So online services, for example, it has a lot of similarity with just other types of online services. So if you realize that there's a lot of similarities between each of the jobs that I'm doing, right? And then that led me into gaming industry, which is the Gears of War and the Coalition Studio at Microsoft. And then that obviously led me to, interviewing at EA and then getting the jobs and things like that. But that did not mean that I did not get other jobs. Like I had other jobs from other industries. I had from consulting, I had from health tech, I had from fintech. There's a lot of array of things that I could get from the slew of experiences that I have built. Now, you have asked me, what does it mean to be in a gaming industry? So to build a game, So I am on the Frostbite engine team, which means I build the technology that most of other games are built on, right? Like EA's, like Frostbite titles are built on. So those are, we have FC, we have NHL, and if you're in the US, Madden, college football, those are very, very popular games. And now that is very much of the lower base level, right? And within that component, you have so many different teams. We have physics teams, we have graphics. I work right now on the pipeline side of it, where like the data cook and things like that. How does it manage? Like you have an input to the engine, you have to do a lot of computations to be able to kind of display as a game, which means the runtime, that part of it. Now go a step above. You say, for example, a team that is making the game, you would have different types of engineers working on it. You would have a gameplay engineer, and the gameplay could have several parts to it too. You could have a physics, you could have just like a gameplay client, you could have an AI team, multiple, like you could have an animation team. There's so many different teams, right? You could also have an online services, right? You have like ultimate teams and things like that, which is on another side of it. And then think about the central tech that goes around it. You have the security team, right? You have the other databases that you would build up. And for company the size of EA, we also have a lot of central technologies that are not just front facing, but also being used as like a common tool for everyone else in the gaming industry, right? So that means the gaming by itself, whatever you can think of in any other industry, you can use in gaming industry, and there's a space for you. So it's not something be like, oh, gaming means I have to be one in the corner making the game, the gameplay engineer. That is not it. That means it's one part of the 50 other things that are going on. Probably a lowball number as well.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I'm so glad you were able to kind of explain the coding and the engineering side of it. I think even when you attend conferences and things like that, as a student or as somebody who's interested, you start to realize that there are different paths to the gaming industry. There's the writers, there's the animators, there's the artists, there's the coders, there's the business teams, the economists, the AI guys. But I don't think you sort of ever really understand the variety of tech that actually goes into it. Tell me, as you built your career, what were the hardest barriers to break? Was it technical, cultural, or maybe self-doubt?
It's all of it. You're never gonna be at a time where like I've got this all. You're probably gonna have a moment of it, but that's the beauty of having a career. Your career is long. That means you're always going to improve on something, right? So from so far, for example, sometimes you're going to have self-doubt because I am a minority and I don't have a lot of people that looks like me in the tech industry, and even less in the gaming industry. My speaker went off. But I think to this day, I would really say the toughest part is actually, I would say, the conversation that you have with yourself. So managing the technical part of it, managing skill set, managing like how you build a mentorship network or a mentee network, because obviously mentorship goes both ways. You learn a lot from actually mentoring other people as well. I would really say the toughest thing you will do with yourself is the conversation that you have about you with yourself. So telling yourself that you deserve to be in a place that seems like you might not have other people that looks like you, or that you are better than that you think you are. You need to keep doubting yourself about like certain things. And I'm way better at that now, but I'm nowhere near like the next person that doesn't look like me. And it's always going to be a continuous process, but I would still say that is going to be something I would say, like anyone that comes into the industry that looks like me or can resonate with me, be very kind to yourself, be very thoughtful about the conversations you have with yourself, because that's going to shape how you approach your career. Because if you say you are not okay with failing, say you don't do something well the first time, you're going to break down, you're going to have a whole meltdown. But that's not point of it. The point is like you tell yourself it's okay. You've come this far and it's not the end of it. Move on. You do it again. You do it again and again and again till you get something that you need to get it done. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I will say that we talked about self-doubt a little bit, and to be kind to ourselves. I will say that while imposter syndrome becomes a lot less, 25 years later, there will still be days that you look around and say, what am I doing in this room?
Mm-hmm.
It happens. You talked about mentoring and mentorship. Tell me a little bit more about how you were mentored, maybe, but also about how you've taken that forward. And as we lead into the platform you created, which is the Women in Gaming, um, tell me a little bit about that and why you felt like you should create it.
Yeah. Mentorship in both ways, I would say, is one of the best things that you can do for your career. And not just because you're learning something. So when I actually go into a mentorship session with someone, like say I am the mentee, I always make it very clear that I'm not coming in here just to take. I'm here to also give you perspective so that this can be a both way conversation, because
Yeah,
I as a
mutually
person,
beneficial. Yeah.
exactly. And you have to build yourself up to be believing that you are someone who can create value by being there, your presence. And that's the first step when you do any kind of mentorship. So you go talk to someone, say you're talking to the CTO, like, would you like to be my mentor? Right? And that will be a very daunting conversation. But the way
Yeah.
that I would approach is, I have a lot of insights that can actually benefit you because I am not there, and then you're not actually getting this view of it, right? That's just one example of it. But you could also like talk to your director, talk to your peers or something like that, be like, hey, this is how the mentorship happens, right? And then I've realized that is a lot of the times people do not take mentorship or like a step to go forward for mentorship because they are scared that somebody will say no. The worst thing someone can say is to your face no, and that's the best scenario, right? You just gotta know, that's it. There's nothing else that bad happened. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get the mentorship, you're not going to get the connection, and that's the worst thing that you can do. So that's number one. The reason that I say the both way mentorship works is you learn a lot from actually mentoring someone else, because they're going to ask you questions that you probably did not think about. They're
Yes.
going to challenge something that you've, if they're actually someone that wants to collaborate with you, they're going to challenge some of the thoughts that you had from before, which will give you a different perspective. And the tech industry specifically is a very, very fast paced evolving industry. You're going to end up learning a lot from your mentee as well and how they do things. And I think people also need to realize your mentee will be good at a lot of things that you're not good at, and that's your opportunity to understand, like, how do I make a space for them to benefit from my expertise. And that will give you a lot more of a managerial and a leadership perspective about, like, I may not be the smartest person in this conversation, but I still can provide value to this person. And that's why you should be doing more and more of that.
I also think that because you have the ability to take a step back and share, sometimes, also give perspective just on, how you look at things to your mentee. I also feel that every time you do that, you are reminded of that yourself, because it's very easy to give advice and it's much
Yes.
harder to take it.
Yep.
And I find that whenever I'm sort of mentoring somebody, so many times some of the learnings that I will tell them, I realize I'm forgetting myself, and then I kind of remind myself to make sure that I do some of those things. So okay, now talk to me about it is, you say it as women in engineering. It's WOMXN in engineering.
Yeah, it's Women in Engineering, and this was a platform that was created um, because I do not want people, or people who identify or look like or identify any part of me to go through the things that I had to go through while I was in university. Because think about it, I'm in gaming industry, but tech, for example, is permeates through every single thing that we do in our life right now, right? You go to groceries, your payment system, right? You go to your doctors, the healthcare system. You have your fintech, and you have like lawyers using like their own software, right? And there's like so many different types of industries that you can like name anything. You are going to find a technical aspect to it. Now, when I was in university, I felt like at one point I did not know what I was doing with my skill set. I said, I'm learning all of this. My question in every single class was, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to take this information and where is it going to be used and how is it going to be used? And a lot of the times, you do not get that information from your classroom. The only way that you can get this information, and not by like, how does it equate one to one? It's more like, how is your degree and your understanding and you as a person going to be integrated into a field that will be useful? So say, if I could talk to someone from healthcare industry, I could understand, like, oh, I could actually do that with my skill set. If I could talk to someone in banking, I could be like, hey, this is how I could have done, I could provide a value for you in your industry. If I could actually talk to gaming, I would have understood a long time ago that gaming is a space for me that I could go to. It's about opening those conversations and opportunities for women. And I think it's a wonderful thing, because in tech industry, it's really great to get advice from someone who's technical, but if it's even better to get insights, a broad view of the world from someone who's not technical, who's not in a specifically tech industry, because that gives you a lot more idea about what can be done with your technology that is not just pure tech. And that's why the platform was created. And a lot of people showed a lot of traction. Different companies are trying to partner up and trying to now rebrand and rebuild it with a few of our other members that I have met in the community, because they have the same kind of interest.
Okay. Tell me, I love the mission, and I think we need more and more like that. I also think we need a lot more companies that become part of the solution, as opposed to just the community getting together to see what they can do about it. I do think it needs to come both ways. Tell me, there's also been a certain amount of pushback in the form of Gamergate, or whatever you want to call it, where a lot of people feel like, well, I won't say a lot of people, I'll say a few people feel like there's a DEI component that's changing the nature of the industry, and then by default or by that journey continuing the game. You're a young person. Explain that to us.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand that question. You are trying to understand.
Over the last 2 or 3 years, I think one of the things that we saw was what was a bit of a pushback that came from having a lot more inclusivity in gaming. There are communities of gamers, whether in forums or groups, that have sort of talked about, games becoming too woke, agendas in games, and there's a resistance to them. And obviously this would be a majoritarian resistance. So I do believe that, like, for example, there are games that have had lead characters, or second tier characters that are of color, gender, that may not be the expected default for a community that's so used to seeing only itself. But in that, there has been pushback, and these are young people pushing back against change that should have happened 20 years ago. So I was just wondering if you've seen that in any, or you've encountered that, or seen it in any of the forums or groups, and if you have an opinion on that.
That's a great question. So luckily, well, unfortunately, actually, so the first time I was working in a gaming industry, the advice that was given to me, and I have taken to heart because I have looked into these forums once in my life. That was years and years ago, and I was very depressed. Now, the industry professionals have given me an advice. Unless it is your job to actually go into these forums and things like that, do not look at this, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as we love our community, a lot of the people who post are the ones that are strongly having opinions, and people who do not otherwise have, say, like normal opinions might not be the ones posting. So you might have a very skewed view of what your game is doing, how your game is doing, and what's going on there as well. But let me also tell you this about the pushback part of it. In any, by human nature, you're not going to like change. That's just the human nature part of it. But that does not mean it's right. Right? That does not mean the change is not right. The change might need to happen no matter if you like it or not. The change might need to happen because the player base need to be able to play the game. So you say this is not my expected, reality. But you could also look at it from the other perspective where like, but this could be the alternate reality. The gaming at the end of the day is to, our mission is to have everyone play. If you do not feel like you're a part of the game, why would you play? Why would you want to play? And that's
I agree
pretty much
with
the
you.
part of it.
Yeah, I feel like gaming is the one sport as we come up to a point where gaming is going to become an Olympic sport. I keep feeling that gaming is the one place where gender does not compute. It doesn't matter that you're taller or shorter or you're physically built a little bit more narrow. In all other sports, that does factor in gaming it really does not, and yet there is a certain amount of and the numbers are skewed. I know that we have up to 40+% women who play some form of game or the other. And it's a number that I hear a lot from a lot of platforms. I just think that the one big difference is how many of those women are actually identifying themselves as a gamer. How many of them feel included enough to say, yeah, I'm a gamer. I may play 2 hours of casual games or games where I will drive around just to, get all my portals for one of my games. But I don't know that I would identify with the term gamer. And I
Yeah.
think that's because of
I
what
mean,
I think
that's a
in my.
good point. That's a good point. I think one of the things that female populations we usually do is like we don't identify ourselves as gamer. But gaming, by the definition, is someone who plays games. So even if you are playing Candy Crush, you're a gamer.
Yeah.
You are a gamer. But you don't have to be like, oh, I'm not a 24/7 gamer. And that's totally fine. You're still a gamer.
Yeah, actually, there are very few people who are 24/7 gamers. I mean, that community is growing. But yeah, a lot of, I think that's also when you hear the word gamer, I think there's a preconceived notion of what that looks like. And I think it's not me. I think from an age point of view, it's not me. From a gender point of view, it's not me. From a color point of view, it's not me. So,
And which is why it's more and more important that we include a lot more diverse characters into the gaming, so you know that you are a part of the gaming community.
Yeah, you can't be what you can't see.
Exactly.
All right. Now, a lot of women especially in engineering spaces and programming spaces do feel a little alone. The numbers are growing, but they still feel a little bit alone. I was at a panel that I was part of with one of the tech platforms, and I remember these two young girls came to me and said, we heard you. I think it's great, because my idea was, don't wait for an invitation. Nobody's going to welcome you into the industry. You're here. You're already a part of it. But they still do feel alone, isolated, awkward. How do we change that? How do we shift from, not just tokenism? How do we shift from having women as part of having women do the job as opposed to becoming a part of the team?
You do the job. That's pretty much it. You do the job. I think, as as frightening as it could be to be the only woman in the room, and I have been in many, many, many instances, you have your belief that you are cut out for the job and you are as qualified, if not more, as the other person in the room, right? You do the job, and that's how you become a part of the team. By being there, like you said, you already are supposed to be there. So do not question it, right? The other thing is form a network of women that supports you, champion for each other, right? You might not have one woman in your team, but you might have someone else in your extended team, right?
Yeah.
Form a connection with them, advocate for them, be their champion, sing their praise for the things that are good for them while they're not in the team, right? So in a meeting, for example, say Ronak has done something, right? Like I would be talking to my coworkers, and if I know that Ronak has done something, I would be like, oh, by the way, yeah, Ronak was doing that. I would actually go out of my way to actually advocate for another woman in a conversation that she might not be included in. That's how you lift another woman, and that's how you bring more women up. And by doing that, you form a community that is so powerful that you can actually start including more women as they come. One of the main problem is we obviously have a pipeline issue where we don't have enough people coming in, but we also have an attrition issue out of the industry and out of in the tech industry, I mean. So women actually might not stay in purely technical roles because they just don't feel supported. The way to actually mitigate.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Tanjulia. In fact, when we were starting the platform Hungama Game Changers, and we decided we are going to amplify women in gaming, we did it for two reasons. One, we realized, like I said, you can't be what you can't see, and we need to make sure that more women are seeing these women who have been able to achieve what they have. But the other thing is that, everybody chooses a different point in the funnel, kind of. So some people are funneling more, creating more exciting and opportunities to get more women into gaming. We decided, or film or music, we decided we're going to start amplifying the ones who are hitting their stride, and we've kind of, with a little bit of energy and amplification, they will bubble right up to the top. And that was really one of the things when so that's why we do the award every year. This is part of the leadership series, but that's why we do the award every year, where we talk about the game changers who really are doing things in their own terms. They're great. And then we try and get them speaking assignments, and we do panels with them and things like that. Not just of our own, but also at IGDC or at other platforms, just so that we're able to create a little bit of confidence and visibility for them to now springboard to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for doing that. That's incredibly important. Recognition is one of the most valued parts of having a great career.
Tell me, what do you think are the skills that you have that allow you to kind of get not just your foot in the door, but get noticed, to be able to be successful in your career? They could be technical skills, or they could be non-technical skills. But what are the skills that you think, as a woman who's sort of very much a part of the gaming industry and succeeding in it, what are the skills that help you all the time?
I would say the first one is have no shame. Really, have no shame. Knock on that door. Knock on that door multiple times. If they say no, knock on it again, right? Pursue your opportunity as much as you can. Leave no door unlocked. You have to be able to take a no to your face. Be like, okay, that's totally fine. I'm going to try in a different place, different time, different strategy, and see how we can move things forward. That's being able to handle the rejection, and also to be able to rise up above and above and above multiple different times. Change your strategy. Like, you have to be highly adaptable to be able to do that. So have no shame, be highly adaptable, and do your goddamn job. Do your job. That's the main thing. No matter what it is, if you are, the best thing that you can do for your community, for yourself, is to be good at your job. If you want to represent the community that looks like you have to be good at your job that you're trying to represent for. Then more people are going to actually understand we need more people like her. We need more people like Tanjulia and Ronak in the room. Let's go get more of them. If you are not doing your job, if you are bad at your job, chances are that's going to be a next step that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to first be good at your job to be able to do other things. So I would say do your job.
Okay. Talk to me about gatekeeping. Does it exist? How do you work around it?
I prefer the term scarcity mindset. I think scarcity mindset is a thing that unfortunately happens when you are conditioned in an environment where you are made to feel like there's just one thing available, and that is it's you versus others. So, for example, you might be made to feel like there is a position that someone is applying for, or an opportunity that can go into. You might feel like you are the only one or nobody else, or like it's just the idea of me versus you. It cannot be us. Right. That's the scarcity mindset, right? And that happens because historically women were being put in a positions where it was made to feel like there is not enough seat or not enough room for all of us to be there. But that is completely wrong. Completely wrong. No matter what they say, no matter what the situation is, that's never going to be true. You can absolutely rise and have another woman rise with you at the same time. There's enough room for all of us in the room. Trust me on that. So I would say that the navigating that part, honestly, is lead by example. You get rid of the scarcity mindset, you lift another woman up, they will learn from you and start doing the same thing. And it's going to come not as a natural thing, might be at the first, maybe it will. It might not be a natural thing for the other person, maybe it will. But at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is be the example that you're trying to set for other people, right? Like you just have to be the person having that outlook and that energy of like, there's enough room for all of us. Let's do it together. Let's rise together. There has to be a healthy amount of competition, but that doesn't mean you're going to put someone else down to get there.
On that note, we ask every woman who joins us on the podcast to recommend 2 women that they think are game changers. And they could be from the gaming industry, or they could be from film or music. So anything in the space of entertainment. So I'd love for you to share with us 2 women who are doing things right. They're doing things differently. They're doing things on their own terms, and they're succeeding while they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. The first name that comes to my mind is Mariam Nusrat. She actually is a founder of a company called Brushna Grid. It's a no-code gaming platform, and they are doing amazing. And she's the CEO. She's built it from ground up. There's so many users using it. And for the next one, let me give it a thought. There are many people that's coming into my mind, and I'm like, who do I choose?
But that's a lovely problem to have.
I know there's so many people. So like, what about her? What about her? What about her? Oh, we want to also do her. You said it does not have to be in. It should be in the gaming and entertainment.
Gaming and entertainment.
I would love for you to consider Maria, and she used to be the CTO of Electronic Arts. I think she is one of the most inspiring women that I have ever spoken to. She's a force of nature, and if anyone can inspire our next generation of future leaders, it'll be her.
Oh my God, that's a great recommendation. And I have to tell you, Tanjulia, thank you for your brilliance, for your courage, and for your clarity. You've inspired not just young engineers, but I think a whole generation of women will be inspired to rethink what leadership in tech can look like. And we're proud to have you on Hungama Game Changers 2025 and can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you very much for having me. This was a wonderful conversation, but have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
You too. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Hungama Game Changers Leadership Series. Remember, the future of entertainment is diverse, daring, and digital, and it is being defined by women like Tanjulia.
In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.